introduction, and I completely agree. These last 2 years have been trying. Every day is a gift. It's great to take the mask off. Someday, hopefully, we'll get to take those off on a more permanent basis. But at least we're here in person today, and that's an important baby step forward. Very great to see people in person. We've done some of these events via Zoom. They've been fantastic. So first of all, I want to thank IREX for putting this together and taking this first big step forward to put together an in-person event, even in the face of this new variant that has people certainly causing for some concern. And I want to thank all of you for coming to the event. Hopefully, we get to do these, as I said, more often in the future. So, again, my name is Matt Hogan, Vice President of Project Development for CMB Regional Centers. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my company, very briefly talk about a project that we hope to have available when the program is reauthorized. But first, I do want to touch on that. I want to talk about the EB-5 program in general. Now, EB-5, as many may know, is permanent law. So the category itself is still available for anyone who wants to immigrate to the United States on an immigration by investment path. So, but the route is a little bit different currently, as currently it's only allowed for direct EB-5 investment. So traditionally, my company, CMB Regional Centers, has worked under the Regional Center program, which, as many know, was not reauthorized, unfortunately, back in June of this year. And for the last 6 months, it's really been kind of getting kicked along as the U.S. government works to solve 4 other issues, including the 2022 fiscal budget, which we would have hoped would have been resolved these last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, it has now been kicked into the early part of 2022. So the federal government is actually operating on a little bit borrowed time right now. All in all, we do expect the Regional Center program to be reauthorized. And when it does, we think there's going to be some positive steps forward for the EB-5 investors. We're hopeful that we can see some sort of relief in visa relief, specifically visa relief that will help speed up the process for investors from India. Many know that India at one point in time had a backlog that could take maybe 5 to 7 years for an investor to become eligible to receive a visa. In countries such as China, it's a much bigger problem. 15 years, as a lot of people have projected. And so these are things that a lot of people in the industry have been working to fix. And right now, we have an industry consensus piece of legislation that is working through the offices of many lawmakers. And we're working to see the Regional Center program reauthorized. And when we do, we want everybody to be as prepared as they possibly can to take advantage of this new era of the EB-5 Regional Center program. So I want to tell you a little bit more about my company and a project that I mentioned that we hope to have available that people will be able to take advantage of right away when this program is reauthorized. So CMB is one of the largest and oldest active regional centers in the industry. We were founded by Patrick Hogan. Pat is my uncle. I'm very proud to work for my uncle. He's one of the godfathers of EB-5, one of the longest serving, is the longest serving board member of the largest stakeholder organization in EB-5, IIUSA, or Invest in USA, which has been very active throughout the years in working for best practices, working for reauthorization of the program, things that can make the program better. And he founded CMB on a very basic philosophy. We put our investors first in everything we do. And it's simple. If our investors have success, we're going to have success as a company. If we can achieve their goals in getting their green card and getting their capital back, we're going to make money. They're going to be able to achieve their dream of living their life in the United States with their families. It's something we take very seriously, and it's something that we celebrate. We've worked with over 5,800 investors. So these aren't some investors and then including their families. These are individual EB-5 investors, so 5,800 individual EB-5 investors. They come from many countries around the world. Of course, many in India, many investors from this MENA region, Middle East, North Africa region. And you can see over 5,000 of those investors have already achieved I-526 petition approval. That means their projects have been approved. Over 2,000 of those investors have started to receive their return of capital. And over 1,700 of those investors have actually gone full circle, meaning they have their capital back and they have their permanent green cards and they're living their lives in the United States as we speak. It's something really important, something that we celebrate. And it's truly success for our clients that is spelled success for our company. And our company is very active. We're very big. We've taken on over 75 projects all across the United States. So right now we operate 16 different regional center entities that allow us to take on projects in about 22 different states. So we're not fixated on a specific region in the US. Some regional centers only take on their own projects. We're not a real estate developer. What we do is we actually try and go out and find the projects that we think are best suited for EB-5 investors. We underwrite those projects similarly to a bank, and we structure them so that the EB-5 investors can have success in their immigration pursuit. And so when we're looking for projects, each year, traditionally, we look at hundreds of projects. We only take a few of those projects on. And wherever those projects are, we set up our operations to be able to take on those projects in those regions. And so if that means expanding our footprint with the US government, we'll do that. And so that's why we've kind of expanded throughout different states throughout the US to be able to take on those projects for our investors. Now, this is one of the most simple things in EB-5, but I think it's something that I like to talk about. I know it's something I like to talk about. I think it's something that everybody should really be thinking about. Why does an EB-5 investor choose to make an EB-5 investment? Well, it's simple. It's a green card. It's their number one goal. Number one goal of every EB-5 investor is to achieve a green card. Second most important goal, hey, I got my green card, give me my money back. Third most important goal is, hey, if I can make a rate of return on this investment while my money's outstanding, I want that also. But buyer beware. These are not traditional investments. So these are not a get-rich scheme. These are not a traditional business investment. If you want a traditional business investment with the market rate of return, there are many other better options for you. In fact, CMB as a company, we formed a sister company called NHK Capital Partners. So a little shameless promotion there that offers more market rate of return investment opportunities for investors, but they're not tied to an immigration by investment option. Why do I bring this up? Well, it's because if you're looking for an EB-5 visa, you want to try and find something that is risk mitigated and that's structured for your success, something that's going to create the jobs and allow you to get that green card, something that's working with a trustworthy borrower that's well structured and well collateralized, so that at the end of the day, you're going to get your capital back. And you want predictability in that venture. You want to know that those jobs are going to be there, and you want to know what time, at what point, you're going to be able to get your capital back. If we follow these steps, which we do on every single process, if we look at these goals and we structure based on the goals of our investors, we believe we can always set up successful opportunities for investors looking to utilize the EB-5 program. And so far, so good. We've never had a project denied. It's something that's incredibly important. At the core of CMB, and the strength of CMB, is our staff. Unlike many other regional centers, we're a large operation. We have over 50 employees. We actually have a separate sister company, CMB Swissco, that operates out of Switzerland and has permanent representatives in countries around the world. In office, we have representatives that speak over 18 different languages. So chances are, if you're an attorney or an agency looking to promote the program, if you have language needs, the likelihood is that CMB is going to have somebody that can communicate with you in the language that you're most comfortable communicating in. We have translation services, so we translate documents into specific languages if investors need them. We can work with clients. And another thing I should say, it says 18 languages spoken. That doesn't even include the dialects of the languages that many of our investor relations managers speak. We're really talking about main spoken languages in those countries. So the list goes on with ways in which we can help people communicate in their own language. And you can see up there over 103 countries. It's pretty cool. A lot of people ask us, is there one country you're fixated on? Do you only go to India and promote the program? No. In fact, we have investors from 103 different countries. It's something that we take a lot of pride in because we cast a very wide net. We want to work with investors wherever they might be. And we adjust our program, we adjust our opportunities to meet the specific needs of those clients. Again, just talking a little bit about our success. Over 75 projects, 69 of those partnerships have already received approval. So we have another 6 of those that are going through the immigration process. We've never had an a project denial. Over 28 of those, it's actually now over 28 of those, have received I-829 petition approvals. That's that final petition stage where the project's been built, it's gone through its immigration life cycle, and investors are actually having their conditions removed that allows them to have their permanent green cards. And again, 28 of those partnerships have investors who have received their capital back. Why do I talk so much about these numbers? Because there are a lot of regional centers that may have never even worked with 28 investors. And we have 28 projects that are full of investors that have already been successful. That's something that you cannot take lightly in EB-5. The experience and the track record of the regional center is paramount. It can be very important. It can spell the difference between somebody who can navigate the changes and challenges that are presented to them by the industry or by the economy or by the USCIS, and somebody who is stabbing in the dark, is guessing at every next step. This is very important. And as much as we talk about our success, we also wear it on our sleeve. We have every one of our partnerships individually audited by a third-party accounting firm, BKD, and we present those audits to our investors as part of their due diligence process. Now, we started doing this all the way back in 2014, and actually right now, in the proposed EB-5 legislation, this is going to become a requirement of the program. So it's something we've already been doing, something we feel very strongly about, and something that we think our investors deserve. People who are looking at investing with us should be able to see how we've acted in the past, because it's likely how we're going to act in the future. So, I won't spend too much time on our current EB-5 investment opportunity, because right now, unfortunately, no one can actually file an EB-5 petition. But what we think is incredibly important is that people start preparing, because when the program comes back, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Right now, if someone were to make an EB-5 investment, the price for that investment at the lower investment amount is $500,000 US. This amount has changed a little bit over time. Back in 2019, the price went up to $900,000. And there's conversations right now about changing that price to somewhere in the area of maybe $700,000 to $800,000 US. Pretty confident that it won't go all the way back up to 900, but we're not quite sure what it will be. One thing that has been often talked about in the industry is the potential that the program could get reauthorized without any changes to the investment amount, meaning there could be a window whereby the program comes back and investors do have the opportunity to invest at $500,000. And if that happens, we expect there to be a huge rush of pent-up demand and investors looking to fund their EB-5 investment opportunities and take advantage of that lower investment amount. Again, that's not something that we can guarantee. It's not something that we know for sure will happen. But the best thing we can say is to be prepared. Or if you're working with a client who is interested in EB-5, make sure they're prepared. Because there are steps to this process that are so important. And the first step in any process is investors doing their due diligence. So CMB Group 80 is actually a project that continues a legacy of projects that we've taken on with a developer called Hogan Development Company. And this will be a build-to-suit logistics center in Homestead, Florida, just south of Miami. Now, we prepared the slide and now it's been publicly announced. Amazon.com will be the long-term tenant for this facility. So Amazon is working with Hogan to build this build-to-suit facility that will serve as a last-mile delivery center. And when we talk about last mile, we're talking about the final stop of any package before it gets on the truck that actually puts it on your doorstep. Amazon, as everybody knows, has expanded tenfold since the start of the pandemic and is growing tremendously, not just in the US, but internationally as well. In the US, they have an extensive system of fulfillment and delivery centers. We've been a part of many of these projects with Hogan, where Amazon has served as the long-term tenant. And this one is unique in that it's a smaller building, 145,000 square feet, and it is a last-mile delivery center, meaning the packages are put at this facility and then loaded onto the individual delivery trucks that make it to your front door. It's a long-term lease, 180-month lease. Why is that important? Because it means there's going to be a long-term revenue stream there for the project. Now, Hillwood's model is very simple. When they build these projects, they complete them. They have this long-term tenant in place, and then they go look to sell this facility to a long-term holder, such as a real estate investment trust or a retirement fund, or a private investor that's looking to hold this building for its long-term benefit. Again, the project has immediate proximity to the Miami region, the South Miami region, and the Florida Keys. And it's already started its construction. I should tell you, because of the lapse in the program since June, a lot of progress has been made on this project. It started its construction at the very end of last year. It's actually going to complete its construction later this month. It's already reached its what we call substantial completion, and they're working on final punch list items to complete the project. As many of you may know, in EB-5, we structure these projects such that the jobs are created when the money is spent on construction. It's one of the unique attributes of the Regional Center program. The Regional Center program allows the developers in the regional centers to look at model-derived spending. So we can look at the spending associated with the project, put it into an economic model, and forecast the amount of job creation that will come off of the construction of that project. So what I can tell you is as construction is being completed on this project, all of the job creation is being completed on this project. And that's something that's incredibly important. It's something that you'll see in a lot of CMB's projects. At the point in time in which investors are making their investment, much of the job creation has often been created. And in no situation will we ever rely on direct jobs for our EB-5 Regional Center project. That means that we can very easily control the outcome of the job creation, provided that we can control the completion of the project. And that becomes a function of how we structure our loan agreements and how we underwrite our projects and the borrowers that we work with. I'll jump back to that in a second. First, I want to talk about Hillwood. Hillwood is the developer that we're working with for this project. I've mentioned we've worked with this group many times in the past. Many of you may be familiar with Ross Perot Sr. Ross Perot ran for President of the United States back in 1992 and 1996. He was a very strong third-party candidate. He actually got his start in IT. He actually was a top salesperson for IBM and formed two different software companies, one selling to GM back in the 1980s, the other selling to Dell in 2009. Had a significant footprint in India with Pro Systems, founded in 1988 and sold to Dell back in 2009. So he's was a very influential person. Unfortunately passed away just a couple of years ago. His son, Ross Perot Jr., founded Hillwood back in 1988. And Hillwood today has become one of the largest real estate development companies in the United States. And Hillwood has really been a key partnership for CMB. And they've been instrumental in EB-5 as well. Their projects have been successful. Their projects have never failed. We've never had a loan default. They've repaid many projects, and they've been an exemplary model of how EB-5 can work in communities and help build projects that can create jobs for local economies. Hillwood, as I mentioned, is a huge company. Offices in 27 states and 6 countries. They've done it's now over 160 million square feet of development across the United States. In total, we've taken on 33 of our 75 partnerships with Hillwood. You can see 27 of those partnerships have already received approvals. 7 of those have IA-29 approvals. 17 have already received a loan repayment. So many investors have gone full circle in these Hillwood projects. They're not the most glamorous projects. They're not a high-rise building. They're not a 5-star hotel. But they get the job done, is an easy way to say it. The jobs get created, the capital gets repaid, and our investors have success. I want to jump back to the TEA. So this project does qualify as a TEA. It actually was structured to qualify under the 2019 regulations. So it qualifies under the most restrictive TEA requirements. And that's something that you'll see of a lot of CMB's projects. We've traditionally been very conservative with our TEAs to make sure that no matter what happens, no matter what changes come about in the industry, our projects are going to continue to qualify. While there's been a lot of other regionals saying, hey, the TEAs are too tight, we need these to open up, we've been saying, hey, just tell us the rules and we'll find projects that work. And that's what we've been able to do. And the reason why we do that is because we don't want to put our investors in a situation where they're going to be at the mercy of the government changing its mind. If we can pick a conservative project, we can structure that project, or if we can construct that project conservatively, we know our investors are going to be set up for success. Right now, this project, as I mentioned, will allow for a lower investment amount, whatever that number ends up being in the program. The project is simple and straightforward, a little over $50 million to complete. EB-5 represents a significant portion of the overall equity components of the project. So there's a senior construction loan that's already in place with Cadence Bank. Hillwood has a slice of that equity. The EB-5 loan of about $12 million represents another portion of that equity. As I mentioned, the project is already largely de-risked from the development standpoint. You're not going to have a developer walk away from a project that's already completed with Amazon serving as its principal tenant with a signed 180-month lease agreement. So this is something that adds more strength to this project. Again, job creation has been structured conservatively on this. Now this is structured to look at EB-5 as a $500,000 US investment and only taking on 24 EB-5 investors. So you can see that EB-5 job creation requirement of 240 jobs. The project's going to create 274. Now, what's important about this is if the amount goes up, we're still raising $12 million. That's all the project needs. So if the amount goes up, we'll take less investors. If we take less investors, the job creation buffer goes up because we need less jobs. All in all, and I just wanted to give you a snapshot of the project. All in all, it's really important that investors start to dive into these projects. We expect that when the program gets reauthorized, there's going to be a flood of regional centers presenting projects to investors. There's going to be a lot of confusion in the market. There's going to be a lot of people that are offering different niche things that might attract investors. Maybe they might be, obscurely high returns on investments, or there might be, opportunities to, take on projects that would be non-traditional projects in the eyes of most EB-5 investors. What we think is most important is that investors don't let their guard down. They continue to look at projects that are by trusted regional centers, that are with groups that they can rely upon and have a proven track record, and that they don't sacrifice due diligence. They continue to do that due diligence. And they prepare, because we don't know what the program's going to look like. And if we see an opportunity for our investors to invest in $500,000, we're going to give them that opportunity. So our promise to all of the investors that are looking at CMB and anyone that you might be working with that might be interested in the EB-5 project is that when that program is reauthorized, we will be open for business. Our documents are ready to go. Our offering materials are ready to be adjusted and tweaked. New risk disclosures are ready to be put in based on whatever the program might look like. And we can promise you that when the day that legislation gets passed, CMB will be prepared. So again, if you have any other questions, we have a booth outside, but be prepared for reauthorization. We're very optimistic and positive that we're going to see the program get brought back. Unfortunately, it's taken much longer than anyone has wanted, but I think the future is bright for EB-5. So thanks again. Thank you to IREX, and thank you to everybody who has joined us for my presentation.